What's up, Detroit? We are back with another Riles and Riley rundown. Week 7 is in the books, and the Monday night game is over, and it might just be the season is over now for the Lions. It was an ugly game from start to finish. It seemed like the team just couldn't click the entire game. Good throws were being dropped, bad throws were being made. Exactly.
Fumbles left and right.
Yeah.
I mean, balls that a high school football player would have held on to.
Yep.
I mean, there was...
And it wasn't just Pettigrew and Titus Young this time. This time it was Calvin Johnson that was dropping passes.
Easy one early on. I told Tom before we started this that personally with this game, I was livid while watching it. But you know what? I'm still calm because I'm looking at the season like any other Lions season prior to last year now. I do not think they're going to do anything. I actually said after one of our podcasts talking to Tama, I think a week or two back, that I felt that if we lost this game, we're probably a 7-9 team. I still feel that way. I'm okay with that. The problems that you're having as a team are problems. They're problems with the easy parts of the game. You really are doing really well on some of the harder parts of the game. If you start holding on to footballs, honestly, if you just do a better job holding on to the football, if you don't have as many drops and you don't have as many fumbles, you probably win this game.
When you lose a game and the opponent's quarterback goes 16 of 31 for 150 yards and a touchdown, and their running backs only have 96 yards and 36 yards with no
170
touchdowns.
total yards of rushing, but that's still only 300 yards on the day.
But they never got the end zone, which shows that the defense did step up. So, you can't win games when you're
it's all the offense. It's right. All the offense.
And this game, it wasn't even penalties. Penalties were actually not that big of a factor.
Nope,
we had 5 for 47, and the Bears had 9 for 49. So
and something I'd like to point out is we had a total of 1 first down going into the last 5 minutes of the third quarter or second quarter. I apologize. Mm-hmm. We finished with 21. The team just can't stay consistent. The team has a talent. Oh, and speaking of the team having a talent, something that was brought up that I heard, if the team has a talent, then it's a coaching fault.
Yep.
Now, I'm not saying fire any coaches. I think this is going to be an off year, and I think next year you're going to come back. I think one of the hardest parts of football, and I think everyone knows this, is that taking that next step. I'm going to compare it to baseball. Austin Jackson's first year, really good player. But in baseball, the big thing that happens is people know, okay, well now, this guy struggles to hit the high and inside. He's got a long swing. If you throw in a fastball, he can't catch up to it. People learned the Lions like to go deep, force them to go short. And the Lions haven't figured out how to take care of that yet because it's not their game. But after some time, you start to figure out how to beat it. By the end of the year, you want to see this team on a roll. If you can see this team, and if they do finish 7-9, that's not terrible.
This team last night had 3 drives of under 1 minute. Normally, when you have 3 drives under a minute, it's going to be an interception or a fumble. No, all 3 of these drives were punts, and all 3 of them were 3 and outs. The first drive of the game, I heard about this and I was shocked. They had the ball for 52 seconds and punted the ball away in 3 plays. We said right away you had to jump on this team early if you were going to win. Having the ball for 52 seconds and then punting it away is not.
And you know what the most aggravating thing was? Is they were routinely coming up with 3rd and 2s and 3rd and 3s.
No.
And they were putting Chicago into 3rd and 7s and 3rd and 8s.
Yep.
And we weren't able to convert on them until later on in the game. Like I mentioned, we had 1 first down with 5 minutes to go in the second quarter, and then we finished with 21. Mm-hmm. If honestly, like you said, there were some things that didn't look good. There were some bad passes. But you know what? I think the number one key of this game is drop balls, either as a dropped pass or as a fumble.
Yeah.
Because you only lost this game by 1 possession. Joique Bell lost the ball pretty much in the end zone.
Mm-hmm. And that's another thing. Joique Bell, you are retarded.
Stephon Logan gave up one of their touchdowns basically with his fumble.
Right. Why do you jump from the 4-yard line to try to jump over the pile against the Bears defense? You don't start from the 4-yard line to try to hurdle the end zone. That's just stupid. That's something you do at like the 1-yard line. You're there to be a power back in that situation, so you have to do it.
Take a positive out of this game. The defensive line that I had actually said 2 weeks ago that I think they're getting way more crap than they deserve. They stepped up last week. Everybody agreed that they stepped up last week. This week they stepped up again, getting 5 sacks. Honestly, on defense, you have been a very good team. And you haven't faced elite offenses we when we talked about the elite offenses you had remaining, we said you could maybe put the Bears up there though.
Yep.
So you did a very good job handling a good offense.
I'm gonna throw something out there for our Bears fans here. If we have any Bear people listening to this podcast, I want you to comment on YouTube and defend your boy Brandon Marshall for
or not. I mean, let us know what you think. We want. Brandon
exactly.
Marshall called out Sue for that early sack, that hard hit,
saying that it was a leg sweep and that it was an illegal hit. We've watched the replay about 5 or 6 times now. There was no
absolutely no leg sweep
anywhere, and the entire play was a legal hit. So if you're
basically, he had one option, and that was to throw Cutler down from the top and throw him down to the side.
It was either
if he didn't do it that way, he had to let him go.
It was either he tackled him or played 2-hand touch, and Sue decided to be a real NFL player and tackle him.
And honestly, I think we'll both admit that Sue's had many dirty plays in the past.
Yeah.
Not even just a couple.
Right. And they've been on, or some of them have been on Cutler.
But that one was not illegal in any way.
Not at all. So if you're out there and you want to give us a shout out and just let us know what you thought about the hit, we think it was clean as could be, and it was just Sue playing Sue football. I mean, that's just the way Sue plays. But let's get through some of the stats here from last night's game. Matthew Stafford, 28-46, 261 yards, touchdown, interception. If you want to be an elite quarterback, well, first off, your time is to shine on Monday Night Football. You didn't do that.
I do think that. I mean, I didn't get to see quite the end of the game. I had a flag football game I was playing in, but early on, Stafford didn't look that bad. The one thing he did was, and you said he did it in the end of the game too, is he looked scared. Like he after he gets 3 seconds in the pocket, he doesn't seem to feel the pressure. No. He just assumes it's there. It's like 2-3 seconds in the pocket. He realizes, oh my gosh, I've been in the pocket for 3 seconds. Someone's going to hit me.
I think he's scared of Julius Peppers now because of the hit that he took a few years ago.
It's not even him. I've seen it a lot this year. It's like after a couple seconds, he starts to run away.
Yeah, but
he gives up on the play, which is not something he did at all last year.
One thing we both mentioned also on third or fourth down in this case, you cannot throw the ball short of the first down marker unless you know something's going to happen. Brendan said there was a play in the first half where he dropped back and then threw the ball 5 yards short of the
line of scrimmage, not even the first down line.
The line of scrimmage, and then ends up getting a loss on the play. There was one play where he snaps the ball, and before he even looks downfield, he just decides to start running backwards, and by the time he turns around, Urlacher and Briggs are both there to sack him. Just stupid decision-making yesterday from the entire team. I mean, you saw, we'll get into Calvin's stats now. Calvin, he's not even on one of the leading stat yards because he only had like 38 yards.
Well, he's the fourth in receiving.
Yeah.
The 3 reception and 34 yards.
Yeah.
One of the worst Calvin Johnson games in his career.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, that's not even an exaggeration.
Good news, though. Ryan Broyles definitely stepped up once Burleson went down. 3 receptions, 51 yards, and that was only
you never want to see someone get hurt.
Right.
But it will be nice to see Ryan Broyles have to become part of the offense.
Well, it was good. The offensive coordinator did walk up to Broyles right when Burleson got hurt because they knew it was going to be bad, and he just tore into Broyles, basically saying, this is what they were saying on the radio at least, he was telling him this is the part where you grow up. And
I heard that too. I heard that the offensive coordinator said this is the time when you grow up. And this is when you become a national football player.
3 catches for 51 yards.
And he absolutely did his job.
Yeah. And he only had 4 targets, so... main thing I want to get to is the defense, though, like we were talking about. I mean, when you hold Jay Cutler to 150 yards and a touchdown, that's usually good enough to win. I mean,
you won in total yards yet again. I haven't seen very many.
Yeah.
Actually, there's very few games where you haven't won in total yards.
We said that in our pregame that if we rattle Jay Cutler, this game's going to be close.
And you absolutely rattled Jay Cutler.
Yeah, you rattled Jay Cutler, and the game was close.
But the
offense isn't clicking right now. I mean, it's...
And Seattle next week isn't going to be... a whole lot of fun if our offense can't get clicking against them.
One thing I'm going to call out Louis Delmas for, though. At the end of the game, they were saying that on ESPN they actually reported this. He walked up to Jay Cutler and told a reporter to take a picture of him and Jay Cutler because he's a warrior. I'm sorry.
I don't have anything wrong with that.
I'm sorry. Jay Cutler is good, or can be good, he can be bad, but... When you're a warrior, warriors don't go around sulking 24/7. They don't go around blaming their teammates for when they do wrong.
But I mean, that doesn't bother me that a player... I mean, I agree. He's wrong. I don't think Jay Cutler's a warrior. Yeah. You don't sit out your conference championship game because of if any Bears fans are listening to this, I'm sure I'm going to get credit for it, but you don't sit out a conference championship game because of a torn MCL, which is what it was, or a sprained MCL, I think even.
Right.
I understand it's a tough injury, and I understand. I will be the first one to say I could not play through that injury.
I don't think Bears
I'm
fans
also
are
not
really going to care. I mean, Bears fans
I don't know.
are so hit or miss with him.
I've heard a lot of people be very defensive of him, but I mean, you know what? I get a torn MCL is tough, and I couldn't play through it, and many players in the NFL couldn't play it. But didn't Phillip Rivers play a conference championship game through a torn ACL?
Haloti Naha's playing right now on the offensive line with a
Not
torn
saying
ACL.
it's a smart thing to do, but when you're talking about the game before the Super Bowl, if you're a Warrior, you don't even let your coaches know. I mean, you do everything you can to get back in that game, and he didn't.
Yeah.
But back to this game, it's awfully tough to talk about a game like this because, to be honest,
There was nothing good.
no. See, I disagree. I think there was a lot of good. I think there was one bad. I honestly think there was one major. Stafford had some bad looks. I think there's only one really bad thing of this entire game. I think if you have less drops, Stafford's completion percentage approaches probably 60, maybe even a little higher. I think his yardage approaches 350, and I fully believe that because Calvin dropped a 40, 50-yard pass. And there were plenty of other passes to go along with it. If you don't fumble the ball 6 times, I think you win this game if you hold on to the ball. Between catching it and fumbling it, or between dropping it and fumbling it, I think you win this game without those.
Yeah.
I mean, essentially, Joique Bell gave up a touchdown, and Stephon Logan gave up a touchdown. Because Stephon Logan gave them the ball inside the 20, and Joique Bell gave them the ball inside. Or I guess Stephon Logan's actually only led to a field goal, but still, that would be a 10. Then it would be 7-10, and Joique Bell was in the red zone. So I mean,
I'm going with decision making to being the worst point or worst, the biggest factor in this game. First of all, Stephon Logan, every time you call a fair catch, that doesn't mean you just let the ball drop and then go after the ball and try to get it. Because you did that 6 times yesterday, and 2 of them became muffs. Secondly...
no, the 2 muffs, he was just standing right underneath it.
Right, but there were 3 plays in the fourth quarter where the Bears punted to us. He called fair catch. He backed up 5 yards. Once the ball hit the ground, he ran up, tried to pick it up, and there were Bears all around him. You can't do that in the NFL. Secondly...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Secondly, Matthew Stafford, you have to make better decisions about throwing the ball downfield. You can't throw the ball 5 yards short of the end zone on 4th down. You have to loft that up in the end zone. I mean, you have although Calvin did have a few drops last night, you do still have Calvin. If it's 4th down, the worst thing that's going to happen is the ball's getting intercepted in the end zone. Throw the ball up to him. 9 times out of 10, Calvin's probably going to catch the ball.
You know what? What we're saying is maybe a story of 2 different halves because I didn't get to watch the second half because of flag football. He didn't get to watch the first half because of softball.
Right.
In the first half, Stafford had some bad plays, but Stafford overall had a pretty good game for the most part. I mean, there were some big drops. That's what I saw. What I saw was nothing but drops and fumbles. Now, Tom you didn't get to see any of the 6 fumbles.
No.
All 6 fumbles
I
came.
saw the Joique Bell one.
All 6 came in the first half.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, I wasn't sure we wouldn't hit 10. No, I mean, we were dropping the... you probably didn't realize this. Brandon Pettigrews' 2 fumbles were on back-to-back plays?
Yep. Mikel Shores was a tough one. I mean, Mikel Shores, he was laying on the player, and honestly, I thought he was down too.
I didn't,
until the replay happened.
Yeah.
Right, until the replay happened, then I saw it. That's when I knew he wasn't down. But, I mean, it did look like he...
And you know what? Even if you take that fumble off the board, 5's not acceptable.
Right, exactly. And...
I think you probably... I mean, I may agree with you, too. I may have had a bigger problem with decision-making, but I think you would probably agree much more that dropping... I mean, I would like to know how many times in the history of the National Football League a team with 6 fumbles won a football game.
Yeah, the biggest one...
I'm going to tell you, I bet you it's 0.
A big question with me, and this goes back to the decision-making. You have Mikel Shore, who had a pretty good game yesterday, 12 carries for 63 yards, and I mean, he did have the fumble, but... Why would you not have him down or in on 1st and goal from the 1-yard line?
Oh, because Joique Bell's the best running back on the team.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, again,
I like Joique Bell. I think he's a great guy to have in 10 to 15.
But here's another one.
He's nothing but a breather.
You have Kevin Smith, who we brought in last year to do goal line situations.
He wasn't a goal line situation kind of guy.
But Javid Best wasn't either. And
you're saying he did it last year?
Right.
He was the guy. Okay.
Exactly.
No, he did.
But when when you still have Kevin Smith on your team, you're still not using him. Joique Bell
was
should
he
be
even dressed?
I don't know. But Joique Bell should be your last decision on this team. And Kevin Smith should definitely be your number 2.
And you know what? No. Between the 3, LaShore, Bell, and Smith, I think you have. I think you have a good tandem of running backs.
I'm throwing it out there. Javid Best is not coming back to the NFL because
not this year. No. I think he's going to make an attempt at it next year, and I think it's going to be awfully hard for the NFL to tell him no.
Right. But
it's hard to tell a guy who's been out for 2 years that he can no longer play.
anybody who was thinking that the 6-week PUP list was going to come out and then he was going to come back, no. Because this is week 7 now, and still.
I mean,
it's getting to the point where you're not even really hearing much about Javid
Well,
Best.
once they said after week 6 he couldn't come out, it was almost assumed that he was done.
Right.
I think he will make an attempt at it next year, and I think it's going to be awfully hard for the NFL to tell a guy who sat out 2 full years that he can't play.
Right.
I mean, who knows? Maybe they will, but I think it's hard to say that.
We've pretty much covered.
Yeah,
this
there's
game
not a whole lot.
I
mean,
do.
I've said it 10 times. I think it's all about drops and fumbles. To be honest, the rest of the season, I'm looking just to see them improve because from the start, I didn't think they were going to make the playoffs. I don't want to see them win 3 or 4 games. That would be very disheartening.
Well, you get a number 1 pick if you do.
Yeah, you get a high pick. You know what? If you win 7 games, you're still probably a top 15 pick.
Yeah.
Get a good player. You can hopefully build on some things for next year. You know what? I'm going to say this much. If they can come up with 7, 8 wins this year, unless they come up with a brutal schedule next year, I would probably, as long as they improve from what they are right now, in the in the key parts of the game, like catching the ball and not dropping it, and stuff like getting the ball to Calvin, getting those short passes, picking up your third downs, the parts of the game that you're supposed to be able to do, then this team is probably a 12-win team next year. And I'm not joking. I think this team is a couple minor issues away from being... I think you're a couple minor issues away from being 4-1 this year.
Yeah, I'm throwing it out there. If we do get a high pick this year and we don't take somebody in the secondary with our high pick, I'm starting to question the
No, yeah, you
decision-making
have
from
to.
the
You
front
have
office.
to.
I mean, we all
The
thought
one exception that wouldn't drive me crazy, but I would disagree with, is the defensive end, because Van Den Bosch has definitely slowed down.
Yep.
I don't want that pick because you got Willie Young and Lawrence Jackson.
Yep.
But as long as
That's
the
true.
defense
If there's an Alabama defensive end available in the draft,
if you have a steal
Right.
for a defensive end, I'm okay with it.
Right.
I don't want to be reaching for a defensive end rather than taking a cornerback.
right? But we can't really move ahead that far. I mean, the season we
give
can
give us another 4 or 5 weeks, and we could very
Right.
well be talking about the draft.
give us next week if we get blown out 42-0 to Seattle.
Maybe not that quick. But once you start seeing us literally out of the playoff race, we'll definitely be looking forward to next year more and more.
Yeah, I mean, it could be happening sooner than later. I mean, we're now 3 games behind the Bears.
Now your division chances are probably gone, and you have to hope some of the wild card race teams fall out, like Seattle and Minnesota, which is possible.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, yeah, Seattle. You have a big chance right here this week with Seattle, and then you play Arizona later on in the season.
Yeah,
so.
but you can still make a run at it.
Yep.
Teams like the Giants and Packers did, but you need to figure something out very soon.
Yep.
Like I said, I'm giving up on it, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to be hoping for it.
Yep, definitely.
But I think we're going to wrap this one up.
Yep.
Make sure to check out our World Series preview, which we will be recording in about 5 minutes.
Yeah. So for Brendan Riley, this is Tommy Riles, and Week 7's in the books. Not looking good, Detroit. See ya.